Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. And today we are going to cover the financial freedom blueprint. Now, this is a tried and tested thing, Jim, that you have followed for very near about 30 years now. And it's really something that it's a buy-to-let investment strategy that really sets you free or set you free. And like I say, it has been tried and tested for some time. So, I mean, tell us a bit more about that, just to kind of lead us in, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, here's the bottom line. If you want to be financially free, you're probably going to have to tune into the show and listen to this podcast, because this is the thing that will definitely set you free. Everybody wants the end result, but no one wants to find out what you did in between in order to get the end result. Nobody wants to get rich slow. They all want to get rich quick.
That's correct.
But the reality is, you're already rich if you follow this system, even though you don't feel rich at that point in time, because it's only a matter of time before the wealth actually catches up with you at some point in the future. And this is what the financial freedom blueprint is all about. Let me just run the intro to this video, and then you can see the individual subjects that we're talking about. But we will talk about just certain ones of these and not the full thing itself. That could be explained at future dates, or maybe at private investor workshops that we could be running in the future. So let me just run the video for you. So there you'll see it. You've got the different categories and the whole makeup of how this works overall. And we can drill down into each categories, but really we're just going to do a summary on here about, the financial freedom blueprint itself. It is something I've been following for the last 30 years. I've developed over the last 30 years. It is a recipe for financial freedom and financial success. And to be honest, I follow property as my main stream, but you could apply this logic to anything and this mentality, because the methods and the processes underlying the principles behind it, like the drive, determination, that's the bottom line about this, is all the same right across the board. So whether you're in the juice business, whether you're in the consultancy business, whether you're in the financial services industry, whether you're an estate agent, whether you're a letting agent, whatever it is you want to do, whether you're an accountant and working with an employer, remember as well, whether you're working as an employer, because I was an accountant working with an employer as a full-time job, and I still managed to be financially free in that period of time as well, and working full-time at the same time. So what does that tell you? How many people actually achieve that? Do you know? How many people do you know actually achieve that?
And that
more
really
likely the answer to that will probably be zero for quite a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, that really involves applying yourself quite a lot and you did initially in the early stages. And do you think with this strategy that you've developed, Jim, you obviously had to tweak it a wee bit and things at the beginning to get it right, and then just kind of like the rinse and repeat thing from there on?
Rinse and repeat is a word that I wouldn't really use, because it implies it goes into other people's method. And I'll be honest, that analogy was actually stolen from me by another property group itself, by another Scottish property group. And they use this system about rinse and repeating all the time. It's like, we're no laundering money here, we're making money. It's not an illegal thing that we're doing here. We're actually creating true wealth and true value for the future. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning, I think it was, and they were talking about the difference between rich and the difference between financially free. The rich people, basically they earn an income, and that's all they've got. They've just got their income and their ability to perform. For financially independent, financially free people, they actually create wealth, and the wealth that they create generates the income for them. And the classic example, and a perfect analogy, here is the bottom line we're going to talk about, is you buy a house, you invest in the house, you get the bank to come in with you as well, and you partner up, and then you make money an income out of that house as well at the same time. And the capital appreciation, the wealth actually accumulates over time. That is the whole point of the financial freedom blueprint. It's not difficult. It's pretty boring at its heart. And you just have to understand it is that simple. I've seen loads and loads of people over the years sit and say to me, it's got to be more difficult than that. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's simple. It's a simple system and it works effectively and it works really well for anybody who wants to work it. The problem is when you bake a cake and you like the financial freedom blueprint, just pretend it's the best cake in the world and the ultimate result is the best cake you'll ever taste in your life. What happens is the flour goes in certain proportions, the egg goes in certain proportions, the milk goes in certain proportions, and, everything else goes in certain proportions, and then just this wee touch of salt, and then everybody else goes, but what about sugar? And what about, what about syrup? Can we put that in as well? No! Do not change it. It works. And it works better than anything you'll ever get. You don't need to reinvent the bloody wheel. Yeah. And that is the problem for most people. They just don't get it. They don't understand to let things alone and just let it grow. And then go and do something else that'll excite you while this is growing in the background. Like your tree. You plant a tree in the ground, and an apple tree, for example. So you plant an apple tree in the ground, you nurture it, you water it, you leave it, and then over time the tree grows. And the first year it harvests a crop, and it's 1 or 2 apples. Then you go, I tell you what, I'll take the seeds from these apples, and then I'll plant some other trees in the orchard. But I'm not taking anything out. I'm not eating any of them. I'm putting them all back in. So you plant more trees as a result. And then the next year, the tree that was there originally grows and it actually gets a bigger harvest than the year before. But the other trees actually begin to grow and they get nothing at all in the beginning because they're just growing from seeds. So then you go the next year after planting from the original that you've got, you then take it back and you put it back in. You don't take anything out. You keep planting these trees. So you grow the plant and plant the trees again. And then these trees go in. And then they grow up. Now, the year 2 trees are actually, they're going to harvest a crop this time because they're in the second year. Maybe even the third year they might take. But the first crop on the first tree is ripe. And it's really good now because it's 3-4 years into this tree. So it's harvesting a really good crop. And you go to yourself, I tell you what, will I eat a couple of apples? No, to hell with it. Let's put it back in. Because I'm working full time. I'm working full time. I'm earning my income. I'm living within my means. I know exactly where I'm going, where I want to achieve. And the more wealth you develop, the quicker you get into having all your time and money to yourself from then on. You've got a financial freedom future. That's what you've got waiting for you. So why would you want to then start going, I tell you what, I'll take some out and I'll spend it on a new car. I'll take some out and I'll spend it on a new house. And it's like, no, that's what your full-time job's for. This is all about farmer mentality. Nurture the crop. So you're into year 5. Now the year 2 trees are harvesting a good crop. The year 1 trees harvesting a great crop. The year 3 trees are actually now harvesting a crop as well. But at this point in time, instead of having 1 tree you had 5 years ago, you've now got about 20 trees, all at different stages. How big do you think the crop would be from the 1 tree that you originally planted?
Yeah, because you've compounded that up. Yeah,
compounded. You've said it. The 8th wonder of the world. Compounded. Oh my God. It's like you just created a financial freedom blueprint. It will go on and harvest all the time if you don't touch it. Just let it alone. Let it work. You maybe need a bit of water and a bit of pruning, and that's what you're doing. Property management. You can subcontract out to someone else, and you can still keep them full time. So you're not doing it all yourself. Now, I did it all myself in the beginning, as well as working a full-time job. That's not for the faint-hearted, by the way.
I'm going to say, yeah.
You'll not last long doing that. Most people won't have the resilience to do that. But if you're of a nature like me, you just keep going and going and going and going and going until you drop dead. It's like, or you realise before you drop dead, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm going to drop dead. Let's pull back and just, put the brakes on a bit and just take a break, get other people to help and other people involved. These are the things you've got to understand about the financial freedom blueprint. In theory, on a spreadsheet, it can work every single time, but life gets in the way. And that's what you have to combat. The life that gets in the way. You have to deal with that. And everybody's situation is going to be different. But this financial freedom blueprint works for anyone and everyone it wants to work for them. That's the reality. It's as simple as that.
What I've found as well over the years, and I'm sure you've experienced it yourself working with people, but people tend to overcomplicate things, even when it comes down to the initial, say, property sourcing or finding the right investment property. People overthink things, overcomplicate it, whether that's overspending or not doing the numbers correctly or rushing in too quickly and making rash decisions. And people, like I say, obviously make it more complicated than it actually needs to be.
Of course they do, because they think it's got. Hey, here we go. Here's the expression. Listen out for this.
Yeah.
It sounds too good to be true. And most people will say after that, if it's too good to be true,
it
probably is. Yeah. But not in this case. If it's too good to be true, it is. It is. But you have to watch out for the warning signs about over leveraging yourself, about putting yourself, de-risking. You have to, over gearing yourself and putting yourself in a position where if anything changes, you've got a high degree of risk of failure. The financial freedom blueprint takes all that out. It takes all that out of the equation. So you can weather any storm and take any punch, overall of any financial punch to your portfolio, because that's how it's all geared and that's how it's all done in the beginning. So what you're doing is you're protecting your investments as you go, almost like hedging every single situation, whereas it can't really fail.
Safeguarding.
Yeah. Kind of like insuring yourself, making sure you don't need anybody to insure you. I'm self-insured. Now, that doesn't mean to say don't insure your houses. I mean, that would just be daft. That's too big a mountain to climb and take a hit. But the reality is, I mean, self-insured as in you make sure you're actually de-risking the whole situation and you're in a position where you can weather any storm, whether it's rent controls, whether it's the government decides to freeze everything again, whether it's the government decides to put new legislation in place to upgrade your properties, whether you like it or not, and EPCs, all these different things. These can all be hedged to make sure you're financially free. Now, I went from 0 to 1.4 million net worth, not property. Yeah. Property was more than that, but 1.4 million net worth in 8 years.
That's good.
Anybody else can do that a lot quicker now, by the way, maybe even 5 years. But will everyone else listening and watching actually believe they can do it? That's the only thing that will stop you. It's this, the 6 inches between your ears. What's in here will determine what your outcome will be for everything and anything. Again, I come back to saying, if you put it an exact analogy on your whole life itself, these are all teachings and scriptures, for want of a better phrase. I can't really think of anything else. But these were all teachings and all the different detail and everything I learned from my mentors, who were never involved in property. They were involved in network marketing. But the system that they operated at the time was to teach everybody to be able to run their business without them being there and leverage their position and multiply their efforts and their time over that huge amount of people. There was 40,000 people that worked in that organization, all voluntary, by the way. 40,000. They sold out the NIA and the NEC on a weekend, both places, for the weekends in Manchester. I was there. And Birmingham as well, and it's like, oh my God. And that is the financial freedom blueprint that I adopted from what they do and put it on to what I do in terms of property investment.
Yeah.
And probably everything else I do, because as I said, if you get good at this, you'll be exceptional in your career, by the way. Because it's the same, it's the same teachings, it's the same mentality, the same principles, the same core beliefs of the financial freedom blueprint actually goes out through the same core beliefs for everything and anything that you will do in any situation of life, because that's how I learned it. And people like Andrew Carnegie, the biggest industrialist, worth 300 million in the 1930s. What do you think that will be today? He would be trillionaire, but he gave away his wealth. That's why you've got the Andrew Carnegie, Hall and all the rest of it, and you've got one in America as well. That was Andrew Carnegie. Henry Ford as well, the principles that he learned. These are all the principles that these people learned that I then learned as well. That's 100 years later, almost 100 years later. These same principles were completely still relevant. What does that tell you? The teaching is already there. You've just got to have the drive and determination to do it.
think also when you talk about when you're developing a strategy, and obviously you've got we were talking about the financial freedom blueprint here. When you think about property sourcing and finding the right investment property, or having the right buy-to-let financing in place and things, it's so important to have the right professionals by your side advising you how to do things instead of trying to work all that out yourself.
Yeah, most people at Property Source can't afford to invest in property, and that's why the Property Source to get the money to invest in property. But the reality is they're just giving themselves another full-time job, and the job that they actually do day to day, they have to give up in order to do that. Where's the logic in that?
Because they just get stuck in that.
Yeah, it's the same money. It's the same money. I've just given up my own job. It paid me a decent wage. It actually gave me holidays anytime I wanted. It actually, my boss took complete responsibility for running the company, and keeping it in financial check. And I had I could go home at 9 o'clock 5 o'clock every single night, start at 9 o'clock every single morning, and I didn't need to work weekends either. And I've just given all that up to do that.
To work 7 days a week.
For the same amount of money, if not less. On the pretense that I could actually take that money and actually invest it into property. Are you nuts? It's like, why would you do that? But it's because these property trainers teach people to do it. They teach people, they go, oh, but if you give her that, you'll be a busy
It's almost
person.
back to fun thinking.
You know, you'll be in charge of your future. Yeah, I'm in charge of my future. That's not a good thing, by the way. Being in charge of your future. You'd be better taking charge of your future.
Yeah. Rather than
not being in charge of your future. There's a difference. Being in charge of your future is you're all on your own. Your island is where you are at that point in time.
Rather than having a team around.
Taking charge of your future is actually looking at your current situation and making the best decisions out of that in order to make sure your financial future will grow in wealth over a period of time. There's two different distinct things. Just a play on words, but psychologically, it sits in your mind and actually tells you the difference. Your mind works whatever you want. If you think negative thoughts every single day, you're in a hiding for nothing.
Yeah.
If you think positive thoughts every single day, you're on the up more than likely. And you'll see opportunities where the negative person can't see these opportunities, even though the both of you see exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
That is effectively the financial freedom blueprint. That's one of the parts of the teaching. I mean, that's module 4 or something like that, section 5 or something to that effect. I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but you saw it in the beginning how it was all broken down, the arc and the clone, and these different methods, the scans, scan the market system, and then you've got the 4 pillars. At the end. Now, a lot of people talk about pillars, but this isn't the same thing I'm talking about. It's just that I've said it like that. That's all. But it's like 4 wheels on a car. If you've not got the 4 wheels running, you're not going to go very far on basically a Reliant Robin. You're not going to go as far on a tandem bike than you are in a car, are you? And that is a fundamental difference, to have all these key things. All these key. Yeah, they're all interlocked with each other, and they're all work off each other as well, and it gives an overall picture. And the compounding of the individual assets that you acquire, and the knowledge and information that you acquire as well in the financial freedom blueprint, is what will bring you to a completely different level. Even if you don't make anything out of property investment, you will make something out of your career. And remember, this is all down to the fact that you'll be paid what you're worth, not what you think you're worth. So the more knowledge and experience and expertise that you acquire in every single day is what will compound to someone else to be of value to them, which they see they should pay you more money to do that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the bottom line when I'm talking about this. Let me give you a good example, an analogy. It's like the guy that his dad says, look, I'll give you this car. I know you want to have a car and you want to do something with money. He says, but I'll give you this car, this old car. And the guy goes, oh, all right. He says, well, take it down to the local scrap people and see what they'll give you for it. Took it down. He says, I'll give you £500 for it. All right, okay. So you don't, Dad, I'm going to get £500 for this car. That's brilliant, isn't it? Dad went, no, no, no. Take it to the local garage and see what they would give you for it. So he took it to the local garage, and he said at the local garage, well, I'll give you £2,000-3,000 for it. And he went, Dad, I can get £2,000-3,000 for it. I should just sell it and trade it in and get a new car for myself. And he went, no, no, no. Take it to this dealer over there, this vintage antiques dealer, and see what he thinks of it. And the vintage antiques dealer went, wow, that is a Gran Torino GT. There is about 5 of them in the world. That is worth about £150,000. And his dad said to him when he came back, says, £150,000, I can't believe it. He says, what's the moral of the story, son? Well, the moral of the story is you're only worth what you're worth to the people that it's worth to them. That's it in a nutshell. So you don't know what you're. I mean, everybody. I could guarantee you. I took every single person right in front of me. I could line everybody up and I could interview every single person, and I'll guarantee you, every single person is not getting paid what they should be getting paid for their worth. But can they demonstrate it? No. They don't know how to demonstrate it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a lot of people don't know how to put that across.
That's the key of the module in the Financial Freedom Blueprint, one of the modules that I spoke about. That's just one of the modules. It will allow you to excel way beyond everyone else as a result of that. And then you'll be the one, you know, the typical example, you'll stand out from everyone else. So when promotion comes up in your work, or a new position's created because it's required because you're in a growing company atmosphere, then you will be the one that's naturally picked for that, because you're the one that stands out from everyone else because of the teachings and the learnings you've learned in the Financial Freedom Blueprint. That's that. Now, how do I know that? How do I know that?
How do you know that, Jim?
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I think as well.
I went from literally just a homeless, unemployed, and homeless, unemployed at the early 20s or something like that. And then I trained to be an accountant. Well, I didn't train to be an accountant in the beginning. I just went back to college and did National Certificate in Business Computer Studies, became the #1 student, and I went, wait a minute, I like this, and I excel at something here. After failing miserably at school, by the way, and being asked to leave.
Yeah.
So point of readiness for everyone. And then I went on to accountancy, computers, or business studies. And I went, I'm going to core accountancy because I love accounts. I've now realised that it's a thing I love, analytics and all the rest of it, and what it means, balance sheets, P&Ls, and asset, debit and credits and stuff. That's the sort of thing I like, logic. So I excelled in that as well. Next 2 years, became the top student again. And then I went on to do the professionals, and the next year I became the top student again. How could someone who's homeless, unemployed, and asked to leave school at the age of 16, basically told to leave school, no asked. There wasn't a choice here. It was like, no, you're leaving school. And then, go on to excel in these subjects. It was failed miserably at school. Point of readiness. So some people out there at their point of readiness right now, and some people might listen to this later on in a year's time, 2 years' time. They might come back to revisit this episode again and then realise it's like, oh my God, I hear something completely different here. I think he's talking to me. Because that's the type of thing I had. I was like, wait a minute, I've heard that before, but I'm hearing it differently now. That's because you're more open-minded. You've now begun to look at the possibilities and opportunities that you have lying at your feet, basically.
Yeah. Do you know,
acres of diamonds, right in front of you right now.
Yeah.
Just dig them up. And a lot of people just look away into the hemisphere and go, I could see an opportunity over there. Wait a minute, there's one right in front of you here. But I've got that opportunity. No, you don't need to be a busy fool here. You can just do this, and this will take you half the time that would and give you the same results right on your doorstep. But I've got plenty of time to do that over there. But do it again then on your doorstep again and double your efforts if that's the case. Double your returns. That's what Financial Freedom Blueprint's all about.
Do you know as well, I think establishing yourself and within any industry or any, and like you say, excelling, then obviously gives you that advantage. I think even like in your own journey, Jim, back when you first started buy-to-let investment things, and even before you started your agency and all the rest of it, you'd already established yourself within the local area as the go-to landlord for buy-to-let and things because you demonstrated how good you were at it and providing that service. you know, and
I never, and I'll be honest, I never really wanted to be an estate agent. I never wanted to be a letting agent. I had no desire to do that at all. I was financially free at 38 years old. That's 20 years ago now. Financially free at 38 years old, worth 1.4 million. The reason I keep mentioning worth 1.4 million is like I'm gobsmacked that that's what I was worth at that point in time 20 years ago.
It's an achievement to be proud
Yeah,
of,
we only calculated that a couple of years ago because we had to
Mhm.
calculate it for a show for me to demonstrate that, you know, that's where I was. I had about 30 or maybe 40 properties at that point in time. And I was worth that amount. And I was like, oh my God, really? I had no idea. I just knew I was able to walk away from my job and earn 6 times of what I was in my job. And that's what astounded me. But I never knew anybody like that and ever done that before. And that's why the whole point of the Financial Freedom Blueprint has been put together, is basically for that reason. Because I don't think, I know, here again, this is the point I'm making. 95% of the population do not believe it's possible for them to be financially free. They want it, but they don't believe it. So therefore, when it comes to a Sunday morning, when they've got to get up and do something really difficult, they go, oh, my bed's so cozy. You know, that's what happens because they don't believe they can do it. It's not that it doesn't work. They just don't work. They don't believe it'll work for them. That's what it comes down to. It will work for everybody it wants it to work. How long it takes is another question you have to ask. And that's down to the amount of effort that person puts in, but also the amount of effort that person maybe doesn't put in. Let me qualify what I mean by that. I'll go back to the analogy of the cake. Some people just want to change it and think it'll work better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It's like, hear that? Hear that? Hear that? Hear that? You know what that is? That's the sound of printing money.
I was just going to say money. I knew you were going to say.
That's the sound of making money.
Yeah.
Just like that. That's pretty boring, isn't it? I tell you what, it pays well though.
It pays, yeah.
Every
And you're absolutely right. People continually, no matter what it is, approach things and always think, I wonder if I could, like, let's do that differently, or maybe I could do it this way, and always have that approach where they want to try and do something in a different way than they've been shown.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes, and make it, and overcomplicate it. And
I know everything. I know everything there is to know. I've been on a course. I know we shouldn't be doing it like that. I know we should do it like this. And it's like, that's bullshit. You're kidding yourself. Don't change a formula that works.
Yeah.
Stop tinkering with it. Just do what you're meant to do. Be bored at your skull and be financially free. And then you can sit on the beaches of the world and then do something you want to do when you've got the money to do it. Do you know you've only got one life? And could you imagine? Let me look at something here. Here's your life. Here's your life right in front of you before you. Let me get this. Here's 1 to 75 years. Okay, 1 to 7, because that's probably what you'll last. 1 to 70. I'll put 1 to 80. Right. See, the first 50 years of your life is you're probably working to get where you are, and then you get to 75. But this is the whole timeline of your life. Now 75 probably stops about here. If you make it, now you might not make it past 75, so that bit's gone already.
Yeah.
So here's 75 right here. But then the first 50 years of your life, you've got working towards that. Here's that bit here. The first 50 years of your life.
Yeah.
That's when you've spent all your time and effort trying to get where you are. Here's the 25 years you've got left to actually enjoy it.
And that's the bit of a reality check, really, when you look at it like that.
Yeah, that's it. If you get the 25 years, if you're not still working, because you can no longer retire because the government's changed the goalposts. Who doesn't want to retire? Who doesn't want to rely on the government? Me. I'm not relying on the government. I always said to myself, if I'm not a millionaire by the time I retire, I never actually put an age on it, by the way, because I knew retirement is never about age. It's all about money.
Yeah.
It's not 65. It's not 67. That's not retirement. Retirement is whenever you want it to be.
As long as you've got enough money to enable you to do that. Yeah.
It's indoctrinated into our culture from birth that we have to work until 67 years old and then retire. And then have effectively 67 to 75. Oh, 8 years.
It's nothing.
8 years. So that's even smaller. That's the 8 years of your life you've just worked for. And you're going to be able to sit on the beaches, enjoy everything there is about your life and about everything you've got. And by the way, you might actually be not capable of doing that because you might have, you know, a disability. You might have, this is another thing about the Financial Freedom Blueprint. It's all about teaching you how to have the right diet, how to do the right exercise, all these different things that I've done and worked out how to prolong life and health longer as a result. That's the type of things I tell people and teach people as a result.
Which some people might think is strange, because let's just take buy-to-let for the example. People might think that all you'll talk about is the buy-to-let finance and the property source.
Property. It's going to talk about property again. There's
your health and your diet and how you look after yourself now, because they're all the fundamental parts of
it's called a financial freedom blueprint. It's not called a property blueprint.
Yeah.
It's called a financial freedom blueprint. But financial freedom also takes into account your health, your wealth, your happiness, everybody else round about you, all these different things. That is what's key and fundamental about what you do.
You mentioned there about retirement age and things as well. So do you think in the early stages for you, Jim, that was one of the main drivers for you? I know obviously once you had children and things, that was also a big driver for you in your journey. But do you think the retirement thing and being financially stable a lot earlier in life was the thing that mainly drove you?
Say that again.
So do you think initially, like obviously back at the start of your journey, that retirement age and obviously retiring early and having enough money to do that was your main driver? I'm saying, I know obviously once you had children, that was something that was a main driver for you. But before that, was it the whole retirement and being financially free earlier in life?
Definitely for me, it was being financially free earlier in life and no having to answer to someone else. I mean, I think that was the most important thing that drove me for everything. You know, the kids weren't there at that point in time, and I never really thought about that until later on. But the reality and the bottom line for me was it was all about what it could give me and what I could have as a result of where I would be. That's it in a nutshell for me overall. I definitely think that's where I was.
Good. We've got some nice comments coming through on YouTube from Albie Jr. Just obviously they've just come across us by chance there and listening in. So glad to hear that it's something that's relating to your situation, Albie. So thanks for joining us. So yeah, Jim. So obviously you showed us those, as you referred to them, for the sake of the video, like the pillars and the financial freedom. So it's obviously the finance, the whole system that you've got in place there that kind of you followed. So, and you used a really good example the other day when we spoke, because you had a recent buy-to-let investment that you had. It was 2 properties, and how you orchestrated that by finding the property, turning to your financial advisor, getting the financial advice, turning to me about the rental advice and filling it, and then looking at the fundamentals and making your decision on all that information that you pull for all these different people. And and that's obviously one of the most important things for you to be able to do what you do in the financial freedom blueprint.
It's having you. Let's just break this down again so people understand that. Here it is. Here, look. It's the system I've adopted is to scan the market map, the wealth clone code, the secure your tenant arc, and the business builder system. So it's defined finance, fill fundamentals. But most importantly, the fundamentals is what I talked about all the time. This is why it'll accelerate you to a different level completely. Now, if you break that down into its constituents, the sources, the scan is about source, contact, advertise, negotiate, and what's actually involved in these modules. The clone is about cash, lease, and the finance is about OPM, NMD, everybody, well, most people know what that is. The equity as well to finance, the ARC is about attracting, referencing and charging, and then the fundamentals, the mindset, the media and the mentorship and the meetings. That is what's fundamental to the financial freedom blueprint. This is what everybody doesn't, this is the bit that everybody misses out. Everybody tries to teach this, the first three sections, the find, the finance, the fill, as a normal routine procedure. But what everybody else forgets is the fundamentals that comes alongside it. Because none of us are designed to build a business. None of us are designed. We're not taught to build a business and run a business. Being in the property business is running a business. But see what I mean about running a business? You don't need to be in the property business to do what I'm teaching, because you'll end up actually benefiting from the fundamentals and what goes alongside that overall, because you have got that, the mindset it comes with it, the media it comes with it as well, the mentorship and the meetings. So it's about having the mentors, it's about reading the right books, it's about listening to the right podcasts, it's about, it's about attending the right functions overall. And that is information that you'll never get from anyone else other than someone that's trodden that path already.
Yeah.
So why do you think I want to get around Richard Branson? It's not because I want to go, hey, look, everybody, I'm at Richard Branson. It's like, I want to find out what he knows.
You want to learn from him, yeah.
I really just want to get it from the horse's mouth. I want to sit. I have sat at the breakfast table already, but I'm going to be sitting at the breakfast table again in November with Richard Branson. I want to find out what Richard knows, and I want to find out the questions that no one else asks him.
And people might think, but you've already done it, so why are you going back? But there's always, and I'm just playing.
How many times do you watch the same film? How many times has everybody watched Back to the Future?
And see something different, yeah.
And it's different every single time. How many times have you watched? Oh, I've listened to that music already, so I'll never listen to that song ever again. Rubbish. You'll hear something different every single time, and it'll resonate with you at some point in time even more than before. And that's how you did it. Or if that was ever the case, then let's talk about Oasis. If that was ever the case, Oasis wouldn't have had that frenzy at the weekend where they sold out of their tickets and everybody was selling them for £6,000 and £7,000 online.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I listened to their music once and that's all I need to do. No, you want to get around the right people all the time as much as you can. And if you can, you should take that opportunity to do that. That's all part of learning. And you might not need that information right now, and you might not need to learn that right now, but at some point in the time that you will need that skill and that expertise that you've learned from that right people. And you need to jump on that opportunity for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing to remember is there's always scope to learn more from somebody that's more successful than you as well. And the only way to do that is to surround yourself with the right people and put yourself in the right situations where these kind of people are and to learn from them.
How do we know somebody's more successful than us though? How do you know that?
Well,
that's the question. That's the question I would ask every single time. The question I would ask, the point I'm making, the bottom line of this is how do you know the person that you're looking at, apart from the Instagram posts that they show all the time, of them standing next to a McLaren outside the hotel down in Paddington? That's a common one, by the way. That McLaren sits at the front of that hotel all the time. And I've seen somebody recently post it and actually make out it's their car. But not actually say it's not their car, but just subtly try to pretend it's their car and give that illusion that they've got a McLaren. And it's like, that is classic Instagram, people trying to sell you courses and try to get you to buy into what they do. And you've got to work out exactly where they are. So the first thing I do with everybody like that, the first thing I do with everybody like that is, you know what my mentors told me? My mentors used to talk to me and say to me, Jim, I remember this insurance guy or pension guy phoned me up, Jim, and he said to me, oh, Jerry, this is Jerry Scriven. Jerry, I've got a new thing that you need to invest in, and I think it's going to make you an absolute fortune. And I think that you're going to be really successful in it, and you'll be really rich and wealthy as a result of it. And Jerry used to say, so have you invested in it then? And he went, well, no, really. And he says, okay, well, let's put it this way, Jack, for wanting a better name. He said, Jack, I tell you what we'll do. The day that you write down your net worth and I write down my net worth and your net worth is more than mine, will be the day I listen to you.
Yeah.
See that point? A broke man can't teach another man to be rich or to be rich already. But there's so many of us actually take our own advice from our friends and family who are
Yeah.
no better off than us, if not worse.
Or somebody down the pub.
And they'll listen to them. Yeah, they'll listen to them. Oh, I think you should. Oh, there's a sure bet on this. And it's like, all right, okay, are you putting money into it? Oh no, I can't afford to. Well, why is that? Oh, I'm unemployed now. Sorry?
It's like there's a thing going around on social
That's
media
not a
just now.
financial freedom blueprint to listen to somebody else that's broke.
Yeah, I see a lot of people promoting this. It's a subscription thing. I don't know all the ins and outs because I just scrolled past it, but I've seen it on social media, and I thought, what a load of
Subscription channels are great because what they're doing is they're just trying to make money out of you. So they're wanting 1,000 people on 50 quid a month or something like that. So they make £50,000 a month for just putting on videos that they've always had all the time anyway. They're not really teaching you anything else. They'll maybe promise you now and again, they'll give you wee sessions about how they're going to help you through their times. But what you do is you get palmed off on one of their associates and actually working on a commission. So they get a wee split of the money that you're paying, and then the other person gets the lion's share of the cut.
Yeah.
And so you get palmed off on somebody else that's not even the person you actually signed up in the first place for. Does that sound familiar to a lot of people?
I've seen it going around quite a lot recently.
Of course it is. The first thing you should be doing with a lot of people that actually hold themselves out to be larger than life and really successful at what they're doing and really wealthy as a result of what they're doing. It maybe looks like that, by the way, but you should be going straight to their accounts online. Because if they're wealthy, they'll not be having everything in their own name. Because you don't put everything in your own name, you put it in limited companies. So you'll have a history online on public record of your limited companies and what they're actually worth or what they've got. So the first thing you do is you go to their website or you go to their link or you look up their name on Companies House and you start tracking them down to see where they are. Now, if you click on them and you get the right company, you can click on their name and it tells you who they're a director of all of their companies. Now, they might not own all these companies, by the way. So you go into the articles and you go down to confirmation statements and you'll be able to find out Articles of Association. You'll be able to find out if they're a shareholder and how much they own of that company. And then you'll be able to work out their net worth and what they're really worth based on that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just way beyond what they actually, they say way beyond what they actually are worth. They're no worth that much. I've had one saying, oh, we're in 8 figures. It's like, no, you're no, because you own it 50-50 with someone else. So you're not an 8-figure person. Now, you're only 7. But most people will go, wow, you're 7. That's all right. It's like, but see what I mean? But it's still a lie, even though. So, and you could forgive people for that, but it's like, no, they're way beyond their means. So you've got to watch out for that. And again, that's another thing that you've got to think about. But coming back to the financial freedom blueprint and what we're teaching here and what we're telling people what to do, I mean, this is primarily available only to the people that invest in our, services. That's all we're doing. So what we're teaching people here is making sure that they make the right decisions and they maximize their investment and they de-risk the whole situation. And it's their wealth and their money. It's not ours.
Yeah.
We're not asking to invest in a fund of ours. We're telling them, this is your investment. This is how we should do it. This is how we should run it. This is what your aspiration is. And this is where we go as a result of it. That's what that is about. That's what a financial freedom blueprint is all about. It's what they want out of life, not what we want. It's nothing to do with us. Everybody does it. And the classic example is you've got pension houses, you've got, wealth advisors, all the rest of it, all legitimate above board people. They actually do it and they take a slice of the full thing as a result of it. They take, look at Standard Life. Standard Life, my pension, they take 0.75 every single year of my pension and the net worth. That's a lot of money. And even if they lose, they still take money.
The figure there, but
no. But even if they lose, they still make money, regardless. So whether you win or lose, they still make money. But whether we win or lose, or whether the person wins or loses, we'll make money on the management and stuff like that. But we'll not make money on the wealth creation. We don't make anything on that at all, unless I'm going in with someone and I say, I tell you what, I'll joint venture with you as a result. Now, I've never joint ventured with anybody, by the way, just so everybody's well clear of that, because I have a different mindset to my wealth and I don't need the money. So I can sit and invest in that. I can invest in a fund as long as I want and it wouldn't matter if it disappeared down a rabbit hole. It wouldn't make any difference to me. But I'll make sure I've got guaranteed returns every single
Yeah.
time. I'm not a person that loses money. I would cry over losing 1 pence, but more than I would actually celebrate gaining 100,000.
Yeah. Because the loss
To me is greater, because for
yeah.
me, it just shows me then that if I've lost, then there's something I've not done right.
Mhm.
And that's why I follow religiously the blueprint that I set out in the first place for property investment and for wealth creation overall.
Now, obviously, joint ventures and funds and things are the right choice for some people, and that is a good way for people to get started and to start on their wealth creation journey. Obviously, I know it's not anything that you followed, but it might be the right thing for some people to get started out. Just make sure you choose the right people to do that with.
Yeah, Paul, the answer to that is yes. The blueprint is only available to clients. That's it.
Yeah.
Why would I be telling people how to make millions and I've got no vested interest in them? You want, again, this is another thing my mentors used to tell me, Jim, you want somebody that's got a vested interest in you, because if they've not got a vested interest in you, then what have they got to lose?
Yeah.
But if they've got a vested interest in you, they lose as well at the same time. So that's why you would always want somebody that's got a vested interest in you, and that is effectively a client.
Mhm.
What, as an estate agent, just as a primary estate agent, like what I do just now in my business and how I run it, and other businesses run as well, it's like people invest in me and my services in order to get them from A to B, not to sell their house, by the way, but to solve their problem on the way. Because their problem is usually they're splitting up, one of them's dead. Their financial situation has dictated that they've got to downsize. The financial situation has dictated that they've got to upsize. They've got a new family coming along. They're getting married. They're moving location. So that's the problem I solve. I don't sell their house, really. The house is sold as a result of what we're doing, and that's the benefit I get from it. But it's primarily I solve people's problems. And that's exactly what you do in the Financial Freedom Blueprint. I just solve people's problems and show them what to do and how to do it.
With the property investment side, it's the same idea. Obviously, we and myself as well help you do that whole process and let and manage the property and things, and obviously get paid for that. But the overall wealth creation is completely your own.
Yeah, the wealth creation is right. It's the individual that accumulates that all for themselves. Yes. We've not got any comeback on that at all. But I guarantee I want to have people create as much wealth as possible, because then that's a fantastic accolade for us and for me personally. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want people going about saying, "Oh, I lost money. Jim advised me and I lost money." That's not going to happen. No. The only reason you lose money is I advised you and you didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Or you decided to do it completely different.
To do it a different way.
Yeah. Instead of adding the eggs into the cake, you decided to leave the eggs out, even though I told you.
Yeah.
We used to have that. Again, my mentors come back when they were in network marketing all these years ago, about 35 years ago. They used to come back to me. The business of network marketing, what they ran at that point in time, will work for everybody who wants it to work. The problem is that works, but it's whether you work or not is the issue here. And that's why we talk about the Financial Freedom Blueprint. Everybody can go through it, and it will work for everybody that works it and actually follows the system. But it won't work for the people that actually decide to do something completely different. Because I've seen it all before.
It's all about applying yourself and applying yourself in the correct way.
Of course it is. It's definitely. You just have to do it. If you've got to get up, if your financial future relied on you getting up on Sunday at 4 o'clock every Sunday morning, 4 o'clock every Sunday morning for the rest of your life, and you would be a millionaire as a result of that, and you've got no chance of being a millionaire in another way, would you get up at 4 o'clock every Sunday morning for the rest of your life?
Get up at 3 o'clock.
Absolutely. There you go. But how many people 5 years into doing that and not seeing any results would actually give up?
Quite a lot.
I'll tell you. Do you know what percentage it is?
Go on then.
95%.
No, the 5%, and it leaves the 5%.
Yeah, the 5% group and the 95% group are always there in society. The 95% group will always exist. This is the classic example. What was I talking about the other day? Somebody actually said this on a podcast, and I actually went on and said, yeah, but 95% of the population won't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's the same every single
What was
time.
the worst one?
I can't remember. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're involved in. Listen to this. 95% of the people watching this or listening to this will not do anything with it. 4% will maybe do something and get, reasonable results. But 1% will follow it to the letter. And they will be the people that will be completely financially free and not dependent on anyone else for the rest of their life, because they listened and applied everything possible and had complete faith, unbelief in their abilities to implement the solution.
I was just going to say, it comes down to your mindset.
I
And
used
that's
to
it.
joke about it years ago. When we first started in buy to let, you were getting 90% loan to value mortgages, right? You get 75% loan to value mortgages now, but you're getting 90% of that time. And I used to say to people, if you've got 100,000 in your bank right now, I could make you a millionaire in 10 years' time. And everybody went, well, how are you doing? And I went, well, I'm just starting out and I see where I'm going and I know it's going to happen for me. And they were going, well, you show me first and then I'll do it. Okay, so I showed you. I did it in 8 years, 1.4 million.
Yeah.
And how many people actually did it after me?
Zero.
Zero. Because they just used that as an excuse to give up straight away on themselves. That's what you're doing. You're not, it'll not make any difference to my life whether you come on board or whether you get involved or whether you listen to what I'm saying. It's only my opinion, but I know it works every single time because I follow it all the time and I still do it today.
And it's quite clear from talking today, obviously, that the fundamental things are the most important and key things here, and the ones that people miss out. And that's obviously working on yourself and working on your mindset and putting yourself out there and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and, surrounding yourself with the right people or placing yourself in the right situations where the people that you need to learn from are. I think that's probably where a lot of people struggle.
Absolutely. But they're not prepared to pay the price because their dream's not big enough.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? When you're not prepared to pay the price because your dream is not big enough. What do you want? That's the thing. What do you actually want? That is what you have to come down to. What do you really want? Oh, I just want financial freedom. Big deal. You could have financial freedom tomorrow, by the way. Give up your job, go in the dole. Look, you're financially free. The government's paying for everything for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's financial freedom because somebody else is paying all the bills for you. That's effectively financial freedom, isn't it? Because the government pays everything for you. It's not a great life, by the way. I've been there and done it. You don't want to do that. But for some people, you could be financially free if you want. But do you really want to develop wealth over that long term? Do you want to? I mean, you know what? Everybody's jealous, of what you have.
Yeah.
But no one's jealous of how you got it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's quite a good statement, actually.
It's true. Everybody's envious of what you've got sometimes. Somebody, I'm not saying everybody, but, and I know you use that analogy, but I'm saying a lot of people are actually, they're like, how on earth did you get that? That's fantastic. Great. Some people are actually joyous for you and overwhelmed for you. And it's like, well done, you. And, I see that every single time. And I do have that. And people say that to me. But nobody's jealous of what you had to do to get it. Nobody wants to do what you have to do to get it. Nobody would want to do what I had to get. But the journey I had to take
outside their comfort zones, and some people get quite comfortable in the life that they've got, and that holds them back.
But the key here is you don't need to pay the same price that I paid because I've ironed out all the difficulties in this. I've effectively here's a great one. This is listen to this. This is like looking at a jungle and taking out your machete and going and forging your way through that jungle. That's what buy to let was like to me in the very beginning. Forging my way through that, cutting my way through that jungle with my machete, making sure I was going, oh no, that's the wrong way. I'll have to go back and start that way. And it's then go another way. And it's like, oh, that's a dead end. I'll have to go back and start for that bit now. And I was always getting a wee bit further forward, but taking you know, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And that's what it was like for me in the very beginning for the buy to let and property investment and the financial freedom blueprint, as I was building it for myself and understanding it. And then what I was doing from there, I was then forging that path. And then once I got that done and I got to where I was and I got that retirement at 30-year-old, which was about 20 years ago, and I was able to walk away from industry and actually just sit and drink pina coladas on the beach if I wanted to the rest of my life. I often wonder whether I shouldn't have done that and just no bothered. But hey ho, I've got bigger aspirations. That's why. That's what drives me forward for the bigger aspirations about community, about involvement, about giving back, about helping other people. That's really what drives me behind anything. And everybody can go and throw up and say that's what they all say. But how many have given away about 130 to 140,000 pounds to your local community?
Yeah,
I don't know any.
You've demonstrated
I know there's a guy that goes about opening his mouth all the time, how he's helping third world countries and all the rest of it. But you look into his charity and he's only ever given 10 grand to them.
Really?
It's a complete lie and a fabrication. It's just so he can actually say that on his CV and you know his repertoire. And he's quite a big property trainer, a trainer that you wouldn't really want to get involved in, by the way. It's a run at the back of the room. There's only 30 places available in my course. That's the type of person. As soon as you hear that from somebody, by the way, in an audience or in a forum, if you as soon as you hear run at the back of the room, there's only 30 courses available, and that's it. We're sold out. Don't even go near that person because they just want to milk you for as much money as possible. You know, get all the free stuff from them, use it as much as you want, but you know, you'll never be the one driven enough to sign up to that. Once you sign up to it, you'll have just parted with your money, and you know, you'll sit there and regret it, and it'll probably destroy your dreams for good. But as I said before, forging the track, making sure it's done. So that's why no one has to take the journey I've taken before, because the financial freedom blueprint is actually in place to do that and to deliver that result. And actually, with the mentor and with the upline support and with the functions online and with the readings and the podcasts and that come with it, there's no reason why you can't be financially free. There's no reason at all. And it doesn't matter what you're working in. You could take the blueprint and actually just say, I tell you what, I'll not do property, but I'll do something else. And it's like, you'll still make money.
Still apply it in the same way,
Well, Scott Galloway, the wealth creator. I mean, he talks about it all the time. He says, and Warren Buffett talks about it all the time as well. It's like, you know, you don't need to be a genius to actually build huge amounts of wealth over a long period of time, because you've got time and you've got compounding on your side. You just need to pick back the right horses, if that makes sense. And also, you know, we can show you how to do that quite easily. You back the right horses and you just wait. This is what I mean about people do not want to wait. It's like they don't want to wait. It's like, oh, this is too easy. I've got to make it difficult for myself because I don't feel I deserve it. I've heard people say that. I don't feel I deserve this because you feel you've no worked for it. But that's how our society is taught. I don't feel worthy. You've heard that. You've heard that of pop stars, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just they fell to pieces because they never felt worthy.
Yeah. They can't get their minds around how they are where they are and don't feel like they should be there.
Like this time last year, I was sitting in the street and I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And now all of a sudden I'm on a stage and I'm singing to thousands of people and I'm making an absolute fortune. They can't handle that. What do you think Capaldi said? What do you think Lewis Capaldi said? That one day this will all disappear. He knew that was coming because he was that guy. He felt he wasn't worthy. Why do you think he lost his voice? It wasn't because he was singing all the time. It's because he felt inside he wasn't worthy, and his mind worked towards that, and therefore he lost his voice for that reason. This is why people going about, oh, I'm ill because of this and because of that. And I'm like, so what's the illness? Oh, it's this and that. It says, well, you could easily solve that. And it's do that, that, and that. and you'll probably end up being a lot better than you are, and that illness will probably
Feeling
go
a
away.
lot better, yeah.
This is what I mean about, the things that I've studied over the years have got nothing to do with wealth creation, but they've got everything to do with lifestyle choices and also your health as well as your wealth. This is why a mentor, an upline mentor, is so necessary, to have someone to keep you on the right track and tell you what you should be doing. That's what it is. It's more or less a coach, somebody that coaches you.
Yeah.
I actually offered somebody at one time, go back and said, and says, "Oh, I'm really looking for someone not to do with property. I'm just looking for someone that could advise me on how to keep my life on track." And I'm like, God, if there's anybody that could advise you, it would be me.
Yeah. Just
I've
because of
been
the
through it
path that you've
all.
already trodden, yeah, of course. Yeah. So as we approach obviously the end of today's show, what would your advice to people watching or people that have been listening and thinking, this is interesting, this is something that I would like to maybe look at or get more information about?
What have you got to lose? Just contact you, Richard. Contact
Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah, my contact details are in here. So
You've got absolutely, again, what my mentors used to say to me all the time is, Jim, you've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain.
yeah,
Because you're not parting with any money at this point in time, and you'll only ever part with money if you're making money. Sorry, I've got to be really successful for you to get paid. Absolutely. Sorry, usually when I go into a course and I'm following somebody's advice and expertise, they're usually asking me to pay them money up front. And then if I don't follow it, they still walk away with their, hey,
yeah, they
doesn't
still
matter.
get paid. Yeah,
You told I didn't. Hey.
yeah,
But my success has always been built on the success of others and helping them be successful. That's what my mentors did with me. My mentors really made no money out of me at all. But they taught me everything to allow other people to make money as well. And also they taught me the principles of actually, you need to help other people that need to be helped.
mm-hmm.
And it's more or less your obligation to do that. That's probably what really resonated with me the most. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
But these journeys that anybody else goes through of creating wealth over a long period of time, or the medium term to long period as well, is there's nothing you won't be going through that I've not been through myself.
yeah, and you made quite a good point there as well. And I think it's like if we talk about, rather than the money up front thing, it's helping everybody. I mean, like the rising tide lifts all ships type thing.
Yeah,
You
that's
help each
that's
other
what network marketing was. That's what
in
network
turn.
marketing I
Yeah,
was involved with was all about in the first place. If I help you make money, I get a small cut of that money that you're making. That's it.
once you
And as a
succeeded.
result of that, you're successful, really successful, and I'm, so if I've got 100 people and I'm getting a small amount for helping 100 people be extremely successful at what they do,
You in
therefore,
turn.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that's a byproduct. If 100
yeah,
people are not successful, hey, I've just wasted my time and I'll not be making anything.
yeah. Rather than you walk
That's
away.
a great model. That's a
Yeah.
great model to have somebody's a vested interest in you.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you have investors. When you do partner up and joint venture with somebody in companies, when you grow companies, it's like they have a share ownership. This is Dragon's Den stuff.
Yeah.
This is like they take a share ownership, but at this point in time, they're not making any money. They don't know if their company's going to be successful or not, but they put their knowledge and expertise behind you. And as a result, you're really successful and they get a cut agreed at the beginning of what you agreed in the first place. So it's a vested interest to make sure you're successful and to help you become as successful as possible. Not to do it for you, by the way.
Yeah, which is a much better way to work.
Yeah, that's how you screen everybody out, though. You don't, it's like, I'm not here to do it for you. It's like, because if I'm here to do it for you, I tell you what, I don't need you. I'll just do it for myself again.
Do it for yourself. Yeah, of course.
That's what I used to say in the early days. Everybody, come and let my property. Come and let my property. Why would I want to let your property? At that point in time, when I first started, I was just on my own. I had scarce resources, and it was just me. If I could make £300 a month out of every property I've got, and then you're saying I'll let your property for 30 quid a month, that's not a good use of my time.
When you put it like that, no. Obviously, on a bigger scale, it's different, but
Yeah. So there's different mentalities behind that. There's different mindsets behind that. But I think that's the most important thing. People, I think for me, I'll finally finish off here. People tend to see the trophies, but not actually the training ground that you've been on. And everyone wants the view, but they don't want to experience the climb.
Yeah, so they want the accolades, but they don't want to put themselves through. Like you say, the climb as such.
It's right in front of you, the Financial Freedom Blueprint, as you see there. You can take all that down, by the way. Anybody, pause and take all these notes down. But you don't understand all the information that goes into that, and all the workings and all the knowledge and expertise that goes behind that. We were actually going to talk about and break one of these modules down, and it was just like, it was about 3 or 4 pages actually, and we never even got to that. No. We never even got to that. That's not even one module. That's one part of one module.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is such a lot involved in that. They are just really the pointers. Like you say, the fundamentals and things could go into quite a lot. But I think that's a really good way to end the show today. And anybody that's watching, obviously, if they want any further information, want to have a chat, my contact details are in the post. Come and speak to me, and feel free to do that anytime. And I think we'll leave it there today, Jim. That was quite good. Mm-hmm. And we'll be back next Monday, 12:30 as usual. And if anybody wants anything, then they could email me or contact me on my number in the post. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. See you later, Jim.